Happy April Fools! Surprise! We have a collection of solo play adventures for you. These are games played with just one person. They can be journaling games, games played against an oracle or a table, by flipping cards, etc. This year we have the Tower of Icarus, Patron Mine, exclusive interview, and the Eternal Duel. We hope you enjoy this unusual episode. We did.
Hello there. I will be playing Kairos in the solo RPG system, the Tower of Icarus. You can find the Tower of Icarus at itch.io or at the website for the Raven Ridge Emporium. In this game, you are ascending a tower where there is no way to win, only to survive for as long as you can. You play as a champion whose folly will serve as a warning to others. When you start the game, you have a starting set of dice of the standard RPG set, so D4 all the way to D20, of which then you would roll, set aside the die, and start building a tower out of those dice every time you roll on a table to see what challenge you face then. After that, you set aside those dice and keep climbing the tower. If I fail about 3 attempts in a row, I lose a die from the pool, and eventually I die when I run out of dice in my dice pool or the tower topples. If I climb high enough, I can possibly get another set of 7 dice, but in the end, I will fail, as is Kairos fate. We are set in a time beyond time, in the folds of space where it cannot be touched by the known universe. Here, Kairos has been trapped in a prison of his own design, for reasons he cannot remember, but he knows he belongs here. In fact, the recording that we are going to find is of a much different Kairos. Either a much more sane Kairos, or even just an entirely different version of Kairos, as slipped through the time stream himself. But regardless, our Kairos is going to escape his fate and find his way back to our known universe, for better or for worse. So with all that out of the way, let's begin. Kairos steps up to the tower one more time. It's less of a tower, but more of a monolith sitting across an open space of dark, inky blackness with trails of electrical signals back and forth through the empty, vacuous sky. He no longer remembers why he is here. He barely remembers how. He knows that he put himself here, or a version of himself. In a time long past, he was a scientist in an era where magic and science were indistinguishable, married in a perfect union where reality was just but a whim of your thought. But whatever the case, he's here now. And with nothing else to occupy your days, it just seems like a purposeful thing to keep the mind going, to just try and climb the tower once again. Kairos takes a look at his hands. They have been mutated differently this time around. While his hands resemble that of a human's, he has made some modifications this time around, letting his arm split from the middle of the webbing of his index and middle finger as it slides open to reveal these large crab crustacean-like pincers. They recede back into the forearm, hand closing up. Kairos just gazes at his hands, a little confused, as trying to remember what happened the last time around he tried to climb this tower, where he thought this might be a good idea. But he looks inside his bag, where many different spoils of different vials of medicines and concoctions rattle around, the glass tinking like jingle bells on a Christmas tree. He is hopeful this time, and he doesn't understand why. There's something about this attempt that is going to be new. Regardless, he hitches everything up on his shoulders and continues on, entering the first floor of the dungeon. I will go ahead and, let's see here. So, as we are playing this game, I am using the die to roll, and there is a table here. And as I roll the table, I will, once I ascend or succeed the obstacle, I have to use that die and then build the tower. Oop, hit my thing. Have to then take that die and then build a tower out of the existing dice. So far, the starting base for my tower is a d6. So obviously, d4s are probably not the best to start off with your tower. So I'm going to go ahead and take a d8, and we are going to see what challenges we face. So a 7. We step into the first floor, where Kairos walks onto the marble flooring, where the shadows hide every corner. In this area, Kairos wishes that there was a little bit more light, and almost as in protest groaning, the shadows recede ever so slightly, creating this orb of light where he can just barely make out the purple-veined black marble floor where he steps lightly on. The clothes that he's wearing are tattered and non-functional at this point. Basically rags. As he steps up, he looks around and sees a figure, shadowy, cowers in a corner, wondering, just looking around, trying to find something. Kairos quirks ahead. Cannot remember if he has faced this one before, though it seems familiar enough. And as he steps forward, he looks at the figure, the shadowy figure, made of just barely human anatomy, floating disjointedly. It turns towards Kairos, and a whine like tinnitus hits the ears as Kairos is met with confusion. Why is he here? What does he want? He should leave this tower. But why? And he tries to gather his wits. At which point I'm going to attempt to roll. I'm going to attempt to roll wits to try and gather my senses together. And I'm going to go ahead and going to roll a d8. And that is a 6. So my wits are currently 4. So 6 plus 4 is 10, so I succeed. The shadowy figure reaches out, like underwater, trying to talk to Kairos. A warning, a threat. Kairos ignores it and just steps past the shadowy figure. It's only then, much like every time, he remembers this specific obstacle. the mind of a scientist, forced to relearn the same lessons over and over. It's their own hell. As they walk through the shadowy figure, a scream echoing out as the rest of this floor, a box of marble, the purple and black veins, recede as the staircase opens up before them. Kairos is not happy, as he always is with the first floor, for that is when the memories come back. Little by little, or at least the challenges of what he has faced. That shadowy figure representing his misguidedness, always telling him to go back, to turn around. Even now, he cannot fully remember the amount of times he has faced this particular manifestation of his in this subliminal space beyond time. This pocket plane meant to something. Something. Kairos shakes his head. He becomes more like himself the higher he ascends. Though that is, as he gets more of himself from this tower, is when the tower fights back. He continues to climb the tower, not knowing what next will come, as I think we're going to roll a d10 now. A 6. As he steps up into the next room, there, a man who has these semi-haunted features of these angular jaw, piercing eyes, sunk in, cheekbones high, hair graying, slicked back with grease from lack of any sort of hygiene. He wears rags, and there are multiple parts on his body where the musculature is wrong. It's mutated. It's twisted. It's only then where he realizes he is staring in a mirror. That mirrored self moving just slightly delayed or off, as it's also not yet fully understanding what they're seeing. And this version of Kairos, as he is walking up to it, grabs his throat, screaming in his face. "You are not meant to be here. Accept what you have done. Stop putting us through this. You don't know what you are doing." Through the fear of being manhandled by himself, that glassy, sharp-edged hand ripping at Kairos' own throat, he attempts to, in a knee-jerk reaction, taking out his pincered claws that rip out of his forearm to try and break the glass. As we are going to go ahead and roll. Ooh. So here's the trick here. My might is not particularly low. It is a 3. However, if I succeed it right away, I have to use the die to build the tower. And if I use, say, a d4, that could be very bad for me, as far as I wouldn't be able to really build the tower from there on out. So, I think I'm going to use a d12 and hope for the best. And I rolled a 12. 12 plus 3, 15. With surprising strength of desperation, the claw reaches out and pierces the face of this mirrored foe. The glass breaks like a tempered window and shatters into starlight, leaving nothing but the outline of shattered edges of the mirrored Kairos, whose gripping hand still grips the throat of Kairos himself. Kairos, remembering the constant laggardness of this tower, preventing him, discouraging him from moving on and upward, simply takes that same claw and breaks the arm off of his throat. Normally, he attempts to break the manifestations as he moves on through, but for some reason he looks back and decides to let this one be. Whimpering on the ground, no longer an arm, this glass-sharped figure of himself stares up at him, breaking and cracked, not able to cry, but the eyes turn wet in the reflection, almost begging him not to go on. But there's also an anger, a rage, an indignation. In almost a cruel way, Kairos turns away, and seeing the manifestation of the stairs leading upwards around a corner he cannot see, and continues upward through this marbled tower. Now, part of the design of this game is that I have to take the die I used part of the encounter, the obstacle. I have to then use to build on the tower with one hand, and then balance it on top of the rest of the dice. So, if I have an unsteady hand, I could just die right out. But as we move on, he continues upward, and we're gonna go ahead and roll. We're gonna get wild with it. We're gonna get a D20 here, and that is a 12. Kairos turns the corner. This time it is not an intimate room, but one that stretches on into the heavens. One that mirrors the outside sky. If Kairos knew better, or didn't know better, I should say, he would think that he had made it to the top. But he knows better, unfortunately. As he steps in, there is a giant form of a machine standing over him. A machine that would dwarf villages. Whirring mechanical engineering, electrical sparks, liquids going in and out of different tubes, explosions off in the distance. A cathedral of steel, of wiring, of electricity, of science. Arcane sigils flash every now and then, exploding out of the different exhausts, ports of whatever this contraption might be. And as he walks further in, he just looks around, sees nothing else. It is just him and this monstrosity before him, and he feels so small. As memories flood him, we're going to actually use a D10 here to, we're going to use wits again to see if he can collect himself. Ooh, that is a 6. So I barely made it. 6 plus 4, 10. As he marvels at this machine, he feels guilty. He remembers that he built something, a testament to his life's work. As Kairos walks up to it, it seems like he can never get closer. Is it so large that he is just miles away, or is this yet another test of the tower itself that tries to delay him? And in this warping of space, as he is constantly looking at the constraints of points of views and perspectives, he finally steps up to it. There, at the front of the machine, is a door the size of a small keep, towering over him like a drawbridge, and with the strength that belies his size, he touches it and pushes, and like a shattering of Hindenburg levels, explosions echo outwards as it all comes crashing to the ground. There is profound, distraught sadness as he sees everything before him crumble into a wreckage pile, a single machine turned into a waste yard. But in that waste yard is a pathway that leads into another set of stairs, finally revealing itself to the back wall. It takes him hours to climb through the wreckage to get to that staircase, but he makes it eventually. All the while being scraped and pulled and ragged from all of this machinery trying to hold him back. He can't remember why he was so distraught by this. He knows he had something to do with this, but why? In the back of his mind, there's just this nagging suspicion that despite his life's work being utterly destroyed, this is supposed to be a good thing, and he can't understand why. I'm going to take this D10 and place it. Ooh, okay. That, wow. Only 3 floors, and I almost knocked it over. Awesome. Bodes well. So, he continues upward. Let's see here. I have a D20, a D4, and a D10 left. Now, I currently have 4 dice in the tower, so I have made it through 4 rooms, as per the standard rules here of the tower. So, if I can get to 7, I get 7 more dice and can continue on trying to get through the tower. So, I'm going to go ahead and roll a D10. A 4. As he continues upward, he finds a stench so unbelievably foul. He starts fishing through the bag he has made out of his own clothes for one of the few precious vials he has seemed to squirrel away that he somehow has had this entire time through this twisting labyrinth of sin. He takes a small swig, pops the cork back on, and instantly his sense of smell gone. Blood streaming from his nose, he wipes it as he continues forward. As he rounds the corner into the next room, he is met with a a foul creature of flesh built upon flesh, of bodies, skin grafts rejected. He is this more meat than actual man, and somewhere in that gargantuan, pus-filled monstrosity is a man's face that resembles Kairos, somehow bloated and disfigured through the bulging, misshapen, mutated musculature. This creature is heaving and wheezing, a constant death rattle that would never end. It does not seem to have noticed Kairos yet. We're going to do something a little crazy, and we're going to try and see if a D20, we're going to roll one, and we're going to use Grace, which is his lowest stat. Ooh. So that's a 7. As he steps onto the marble floor, trying to silently step away, trying to round the corner, it moves and shifts, aware of his position, and reaches out. A massive tentacle of flesh that resembles a hand at the very end of this appendage grips him and slams him against a wall. The corrosiveness of his flesh threatens to seep into the very pores of his skin and infect him with whatever madness or disease has created this creature. Let's see here. I only have 2 dice left in my pool. So I will attempt to use a D10. So since I failed, I have to approach this differently. So I'm going to go ahead and try to use might again to try and get out. And that is a 6 plus 3, which is a 9. It is not enough. That is not good. As he is barraged by more and more slime and flesh, it threatens to encompass him. Again, he is trying to rip out his appendages out of his arms, the mutations that he has designed. It is only at this moment where he has realized that this mutation that he has given himself in this run through the tower, he has used too late. And he tries to cut through the flesh. More grows as encompasses him. The face of this creature moves along this massive thing, rising up, and through the gurgling of whatever throat this creature has, just hears, "You tries to play God. You must suffer. Know your mortal place." So I have a D4 left, which is good. I didn't want to use the D4 right away, simply because if I had, I'd have to build the tower there. But now if I succeed with this, which I will, then fortunately I can choose from any of these 3 dice. So I roll the D4. It is 4, a little bit of overkill. But with the wit, he grabs at the bag which has been glued to his side as the flesh has clamped it to him. He goes ahead and with an arm that is still inside the fleshy maw, goes ahead and reaches out and crashes the remaining fluids into his side. As it seeps into the flesh, it immediately recoils. The mixtures combined as a poison and anathema to whatever this manifestation of Kairos' psyche is. it withers and tries to crawl away into a corner. But Kairos, not yet done, takes the remains of the bag and smears it on whatever's left of this creature. It shudders and screams and gurgles, and finally the death rattle ends as it's no longer able to keep its form, starts to liquefy and spread like an oil slick. Kairos, stepping back, bare feet, not wanting to touch whatever concoction that has been left by this creature of his own design, runs back up to the stairs, leading up to the next floor. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to use I am going to use a D20 to climb the tower. Oh no. Oh no, please don't fall. Please don't fall. Okay, thank you. Whew, okay. So, we're going to roll a D4 and see where we go. Oh no. As he steps forward into the next room, as I rolled a 1 on the D4. As he steps forward, there is not a coliseum, but what seems to be a judge and jury trial. Around him are familiar faces that, almost like a dream, the details are fuzzy for each one. And as he steps forward, all goes dark as a spotlight hits him. The judge stands over him from atop his podium, what seemingly is hundreds of feet up in the air. A booming voice down at him. You, Kairos Sebtas, stand accused for crimes against humanity and the very existence of time and life itself. How do you plead? Almost reflexively, Kairos says, Not guilty. He pauses. It's almost like he didn't say those words, that something took his vocal cords and strummed the right words out. He grips at his throat, not sure if what he said is even true or not. The evidence of your crimes is innumerable, though there is no more revealing evidence than that of the witness. A spotlight shines parallel to Kairos, showing himself, that of one dressed in sleek, metallic, and clothes that seem to thrum with a power of arcane and scientific might, of light that kind of shoots through different tubes up and down the legs and to the torso itself. This armored suit of mechanical might. And the stern face of Kairos' own stares at him and says, Yes, this aberration has done everything that I have described. His ego knows no bounds. I care not what happens to me. Just make sure that he cannot continue his work. For if he were to continue, more lives will die due to his own arrogance. Kairos steps forward. He is going to try and use grace in this, using a D10. And I'm going to try and roll it with a d10. And that is a 1. Kairos tries to defend himself, tries to pull whatever guile and charm he can, but the words falter, as if his own throat is seizing up, as if a hand is preventing him from speaking. There's murmur around the jury as this second version of Kairos steps up to him, grabbing him by the shoulders, in front of all before in this jury and judge.
Do you not realize what you have done? What is there to gain from anything? You're going to end not only us, but that of everything you hold dear. Is this discovery truly worth it? If all must suffer for your ambition?
I'm going to go ahead and use wit next, with a d4. And that is a 3. Plus 4. Kairos, desperately trying to remember. Why is this why he's here? To prevent an apocalypse is, to put it mildly, the end of all things, but no, he remembers something. There's something that he was trying to stop. Something that his experimentations would help. That in the end, everything would be saved. He himself could save everything and everyone. He had to. He has to move forward. He has to escape this tower. And he steps forward, pushing past this version of Kairos in the futuristic metallic suit as he steps forward to the jury box, and in his hand there is an executioner's axe. He does not remember where he got it from or where he picked it up, but he goes and starts hacking away at the podium. Yells everywhere echo outward. There are sounds of running feet, presumably guards coming to stop him, but nothing is happening in this empty space of an arena of a judge's court. Finally, the podium crashes down like a fallen, dead tree. And as he turns around, he looks, and there's nothing but the ruins of shattered wood and the remains of a broken courthouse, decimated in a endless wasteland. Though he can't see anything else, he can almost feel the wind of toxic land wash over him, taste the acrid dust, metallic, of an air filled with rust. He shakes his head, knowing that the further he climbs, the more he remembers as he keeps going up. The end is near. He knows he can find a way to stop everything that's happening. He can save everything. If only everyone just kept getting out of his way, including himself. And I'm going to use a d10 to balance onto the tower. And we are still afloat. Finally. So as part of this particular arena, in the obstacle, because I rolled a 1, he actually gets a -1 to a trait, to any stat. I am going to take a minus off of... I'm going to take a minus off of Grace and make that a 1. So he has a might of 3, wit of 4, grace of 1. All right. So, as he continues run, he roll the dice one more time to see what is next in front of him. As he makes the next round up to the next floor. As he gains more and more memories, he looks around at the empty space, this cubicle of marble, the same style and material as all the floors below. He sees the staircase in front of him. He is wary. He is very apprehensive. He knows at this point, or has recollected enough through to climbing through this tower, that he knows that any sort of respite in this tower is fleeting at best, non-existent at worst. His cautious fear is rewarded, unfortunately, as from the ceiling, a creature rappelling from the ceiling like some spider, a many-legged entity, just gently, like with the grace of a ballerina, steps onto the floor, makes no move toward Kairos. This creature of many different eyes and sinewy flesh that connects all of its appendages, the Ouroboros of energy that just cascades around and through their body, of different vacuous holes that resemble that of black holes and beehives. It just stands looking with one giant, massive reptilian eye. Kairos knows this creature and has seen it in his dreams over and over and over again. This is not a manifestation, or at least not when he was back in the real world, at least. But this creature is an omen, one that he has desperately tried his entire life to fight, to help. This is everything he has manifested in order to try and fight back. Can't everyone see? Can't even he himself see that everything he's doing is to stop this? But he knows that a creature like this cannot be outwitted. It knows too much. It knows a universe of massive potential and limitless opportunity. Its strength belies that of natural physics. It is not of this dimension, it is not of this world, it is not of this universe. He can only hope and pray to gods he has shuffled off and forgotten in favor of innovation and his own successes, that he is enough to just rush past this insanity, to just buy himself more time, as he is going to use grace. So as a 2 plus 1 is 3. I am out of dice. There was almost a moment in Kairos' mind where, despite his urge to keep moving forward, tries to turn and run. And that is where one of the many arms grabs him and grips his head and just lifts him up like a porcelain doll. The strength of this creature is both immeasurable and gentle, applying pressure to the head to cause pain, but not to break it, like one would casually pick an ant off of the ground to hold and to study. Kairos screams out in pain, trying to wrestle out of its grip, but cannot, as he just stares at this unfathomable eldritch horror that beggars the mind of insanity. It is here where he constantly forgets. This is where he always fails. This is not some manifestation of his childhood nightmares. This is the creature. It is trapped here with him. Does that mean he succeeded? That this cyclical hell is not a punishment but a martyrdom? No, something's wrong. It, of course, wants out. He wants out. It's just in this moment he realizes that this is the moment where he is just cast down every single time back to the bottom of the tower. It doesn't matter how many floors he climbs. This is always the end. There's something different here. There's something diverges from this moment. Kairos fights every time this creature. For untold centuries, eons, he has fought to his last breath. Something in him ends. And he just gives up. And the creature senses this. It knows this. And it places him down. Kairos gasping at the ground, gripping at his throat, his head throbbing. He can almost feel his head squished in dimensions from the side. Blood rushing to his eyes. Kairos just looks up at this thing that does not belong in the standard world. It's now where he sees the beauty of this creature, the majesty. As tears stream down his face, blood pouring from his ears, he reaches up and, not fully understanding why, says, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And he slumps to his knees and awaits the end, as has always happens before. The creature, the entity, just stays stock still. Its massive lizard eye floating apart from its body tilts ahead, almost questioning, unblinking, the cornea and the iris itself warping in and out of itself as if a rejection of reality to contain it. And it does something it has never done before since the beginning of time, or the beginning of their time together. It relents. To gaze on such an entity is to invite madness. And Kairos has gone mad so many, many times, only to be reset with a blank slate, to remember his sins and only then to forget. He is not allowed to forget this time. For any good scientist will tell you, through failure, we understand what to do right. And the creature steps aside, allowing Kairos his sanity, or shreds of it, and allows it to walk past. Kairos does not understand what is happening, but simply stumbles forward, injured, emaciated, time ravaged, and simply steps up to the next floor, taking one look back at the entity that just stares. He doesn't know what it wants. Kairos doesn't know what their goals are, if they can even be fathomed. But there's something of an agreement shared. Whatever power this creature has in this odd space of Kairos' design, it had used it to somehow free Kairos of his own prison. Or has it always been their prison? Did Kairos simply find a prison in a creature's own home, and this creature has simply told him to leave? In the end, it doesn't matter. And perhaps this entity will show up again to hinder, to help, to bring an end to all things or a new beginning. Or maybe it will impart the knowledge of the best lemon cake recipe ever known to mortal kind. Who knows? All that Kairos knows is that once he steps onto the next floor, he forgets nearly everything of his time at the tower. As he steps through a door at the very top of the stairs, he walks out and stumbles into the night air. Looking behind, sees the outhouse he has just left. A dirty, disgusting, not well cleaned outhouse. Also nearby, a tavern of ill repute in an overall unsavory part of a larger city. He stares up at the night sky, the stars twinkling, the moon in a waning crescent. In the air comes the smell of stews and meats roasted and sweet bread being baked in the nearby tavern. And Kairos is very, very aware. It has been quite some time since he's eaten. Thank you all so much for listening to Kairos Saeptas' Escape from His Own Hell. Or simply get let out of a home of some extraplanar entity that he was just dumped on the front doorstep of. Who knows? In any case, he is now in a time era that he is not familiar with, and I'm sure that the person hunting him, himself, is not going to be none too happy that he's escaped. So, thank you so much for listening, and boy, I'm excited to know more.
Duh. This is Meg the Marauder. This is a live play of O Patron Mine by Megan Lynn FTW. That's Megan, Meghan, Lynn, LYNFN, FTW.itch.io. Duh. We begin. It is cold here in the tower that I have fought so hard to achieve. My companions lie in the ruins below, bodies broken and minds shattered. I alone have reached this place, this room at the top of the tower where I can finally face the being I have sworn myself to kill. But I am caught off guard. The creature sits behind a low table with a brightly colored deck of cards in front of it. Its long snout and emaciated, half-decayed body sits calmly, as if it were not a twisted mockery of a canine. Its glowing yellow eyes belie its calm demeanor, There is fire there, literal fire in the face of the hellhound. "Please do sit. I have tea for you," it says. Its voice is startlingly clear, like a bell ringing, and it resonates all the way through my body. Without thinking, I sit on the cushion that appears on the opposite side of the table from Tyndalus, the Hound of Hell. It nudges the deck of cards, motioning for me to cut. I lay my sword across my lap and reach for the deck, tapping it thrice before picking up roughly half and setting them aside. I studied card divination decades ago when I was building my repertoire of magics, when I was building my strength as a wielder, and before I discovered my affinity for healing spells. The long, rotting tongue of the hound lolls out of its fanged mouth. Noxious drool form rivulets down its jaws. It licks its lips, then its long tongue laps out, flipping over the top 3 cards. It peers at them, then eyes me suspiciously. Death, the 7 of Swords, and the Tower. If there were ever a trio of cards more acutely spelling my doom, I do not know of any. The hound's mouth widens, and I realize this Richter is supposed to be a smile. I look away, disgusted. "This is good fortune," the hound lies. "Change leads to flexibility and resourcefulness. You will need both when the tower of your stability falls." I am completely revolted. I stand and leave the tower, leaving Tyndalus behind. I never fully leave him behind. Years later, I am working late at night in the hospital that I founded with the gold my fallen brethren and I gathered before that fateful day in the tower. I am holding the hand of a man who I cannot save. His name is Thomas, and he is dying of a blood infection that I am powerless to stop. I have not wept for this man. He is not a bad man, nor an especially good one. But I have not wept for him because I have not wept since the day I left the tower. As I hold his hand, his death-rattle voice whispers to me. It is the voice of Tyndalus again. The clarity of the hound's voice is gone, but the cadence is the same. "The tower is falling. Ruin is coming for you. Join me. I will help you save it. I will help you save them." He is speaking of my damned companions and friends. I jerk my hand from Thomas and flinch away. I have reached the end of my studies. There are no more healing magics for me to pursue. Restoring life to the dead is as easy as ordering my dinner now. Certainly there are costs, but they are minimal. And still, it is not enough. After the dead return, they speak of horrors in the hells below. They sometimes mention faces they do not know, but I do. A girl with a scar running down her cheek. A young man in an orange turban with a fleeting smile. A woman so beautiful in her sorrow it makes me ache. My friends, my loves, my heart, waiting, in torment, in hell, waiting for me to come to them, to save them. The hound comes to me once more. "I am challenged by you, and I never retreat from a challenge," he says. Join me, Boraltar, and save your loved ones from their torment. I will give you the keys to open the gates of death and release them, but you must be as fearless as I and never, never hesitate again. I am so tired. My heart hurts for my friends. Such a small price to pay, to release them from the hell they are in. I do not turn away. I accept the power. I take the deal. And I regret it for the rest of eternity.
Exclusive Interview is a solo tabletop role-playing game with the following rules. There are tables for who are they, like an actor or a musician. You can roll 1d6 to generate a character if you do not already have one. There's another table for how famous are they, ranging from practically unknown to a living legend. And who are you? Such as, are you a TV show host, a radio show host, a red carpet journalist, etc. Prep work. Now that you know who you are and who you're interviewing, we can start preparing for the interview. For that, we need to make some emotion cards. 1. Cut the template on the side. There's a template. It's a 4x5 grid of dotted lines. 2. Draw different facial expressions in the blank squares. You can repeat expressions that you think reflect your interviewee's personality. 3. Now you're ready to start. Let's interview. Shuffle the expression cards. Roll 1d6. Divide the result by half, rounding up, not down. Take that amount of cards. Come up with a question to ask. Come up with the answer. The answer must feature the emotions in the cards. Repeat until you feel like the interview is done.
Hello everyone, this is an exclusive interview with your favorite Muse Martinez. I am a musician from far off land. I am quite famous as I have several albums out. I also post things on YouTube. I have just so many different things to tell you, but I think the most important thing for me to tell you is that I will be changing my offhand weapon from the guitar, like I said in my original interview. Which was a little silly for me to say, let's just be honest, because, like, I never use it. So, the most important thing for you to understand is that I just have my chest augmentations, which, if you don't know what that means, just means that bullets come out from a very important place that, we like to call it an asset, in the front area. Shh, it's a secret. If you would like to know more, you should listen to our podcasts. If you are still curious, there's another weapon that I'd like to start using, which is a microphone. You know, I am a singer after all, and that makes more sense, I think. And of course, that microphone will have its cord, so I might be able to use it as a whip or something else. That is the most important thing of this exclusive interview that I wanted to let everybody know. And of course, you know that my bullets, my chest bullets are the most important thing to me in combat. I feel like it gives me a sort of edge, and I feel like it is super helpful in situations. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed my exclusive interview. And don't forget, if you leave us a comment, we'll read it out loud on our podcast. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Happy April Fools! This is a special episode that is going to air on April 1st, 2026. But I'm recording it way before that. I'm recording it before I've ever played a game with this character. People say that playing a solo play game with a character is a great way to see if you enjoy playing as them. So here goes. I'm going to play, it's called The Eternal Duel. The Eternal Duel was created by Haunted Picnic. Artwork is by Goran Gligovic. Icons by Lork, Skull, and De La Poit. GamesIcons.net. I found The Eternal Duel on the itch.io free solo tabletop role-playing game repository. So go to itch.io if you'd like to browse through some solo games that you can play on your own. So I've never played this before, and I'm going to read some of the rules out loud, and we can learn together, assuming anyone's listening to this. Anyway, it's called The Eternal Duel. In The Eternal Duel, I'm reading from it's a 3-page document. In The Eternal Duel, you play one of many lost souls who walk the void lands, fighting against any who cross your sword until you reach your goal. The game works as a randomized series of duels where you battle against an opponent choosing certain moves, where victory earns you part of their blade, and defeat means the end of your spectral crusade. First, create your character and your blade. Name thy blade. My blade's name is Bolon. B-O-L-O-N. It says starting health is 3d4 plus 4, so I'll roll 3d4 now. That was a 1, and a 3, and a 1, plus 4. Bolon's starting health is 9. It says next roll on the opponent table, and duel to the death and claim your sword reward. How duels work. When dueling, you and your opponent must choose one of 3 moves to perform: block, parry, or attack. Block, reduce all damage by your dice roll. Parry, reduce damage by half of your dice roll, and deal 1/2 of the opponent's damage. Attack, does the dice roll amount of damage. Once both are selected, and the enemy, you roll a d6 to see what move your opponent makes. Alright, once both are selected, you announce your actions, roll the corresponding dice for that move, tally the results, and resolve any effects between the moves, then start again. Continue until one of you has fallen. It has this little icon here that's like a sword. At the hilt of the sword is a box for dice. In the middle of the sword is a box for dice, and at the tip of the sword is a box for dice. At the hilt, I think that's block. In the middle, I think that's parry, and at the tip of the sword, I think that's probably the attack dice. And it says, each blade has different dice associated with each move, and some even allowing special effects or new moves. You'll see on your blade the slots for each dice. A 6-sided dice on the hilt bottom means when you block, you roll a d6. The middle for parry and the tip for attack, yeah. Each time you win a duel, you may exchange one of your sword dice with one of your opponent's sword dice. For example, your d4 of block and your opponent has a d6, switch the d4 for the d6. And you start with a d4 for everything. I printed it out, so I wrote 4 at the hilt for block, 4 in the middle for parry, and 4 at the tip for attack. It looks like I'm all set. I'm ready to start this roguelike, random-generated duel journaling game. I'm going to fight against foe after foe, cataloging my battles, trials, and tribulations. Our story begins in a prison cell. It's been a very long time since anything has happened to me, and I'm bored and hungry. The cell door opens, and someone comes in with food. But the joke's on them, because I'm going to fight them. We're going to break out of this prison cell. I think I roll a d4 for an easy duel to start. It's a 3. With a 3, I'm fighting someone who's holding a sword called a... Let's see. It's a rapier. It has... I guess I'll roll again. Oh, it's a mad fop. Okay. They have a d6 in their parry and a d4 in their block. I'm going to roll a d6 to see what they do as I attack them. I rolled a 2, so they're going to block me. I attack them with a d4. That is 2 damage. They roll a d4 to block. They rolled a 2. So I guess I jump at them and I try to grab them to knock them over, but they stay standing and we bounce off one another and nothing happens. I've lost my element of surprise. I try to attack them again. I'm going to roll my d4. That's a 3. And now I roll for what they do. That's a 6, so they're going to parry me. So I've got 3 damage that I'm going to try to do to them. But with their parry, they reduce damage by half of their dice roll and deal half of the opponent's damage. So they reduce damage by... I got a 6 on the dice just now. So they reduce damage by 3, and they deal half of the damage. So they take no damage and deal 1 damage to me. Oh, great. I'm down to 8 hit points. Okay, so what happened was I was hanging onto their back, and I was trying to choke them, but they slammed me against the wall and took no damage themselves, and I see stars. Well, I'm going to try to attack them again. I rolled a 3. That's not bad. And I've got a d6 to see what move my opponent makes. A 1 and a 4 is attack, a 2 and 5 is block, and a 3 and 6 is parry. There's a 6. There's a parry again. So they rolled a 3 on their parry dice. That means that they're going to reduce the incoming damage by half of a 3, which is 1. So good, they're actually going to take 2 damage this time. And they're going to deal half of the opponent's damage, which is 1 to me. Again, I go down to 7. But they do take 2 damage this time. They have 6 hit points. So they're down to 4 hit points. Ooh, making progress. I guess I'm really fighting them. Maybe I'm scratching and clawing. All right, we're going to fight again. I will be free of this prison. I roll another 3. I promise I'm rolling dice. And to see what they're going to do, they got a 4, which is attack. They can't actually do that because this enemy is unable to attack. So I roll again. They got a 6. That's parry. I don't like parry. They got a 3 on their parry dice, which means they reduce damage by half of 3, which is 1. So they're going to take 2 damage, and they're going to deal half of the opponent's damage to me, which is 1. So I go down to 6, but they're down to 2. This is quite it's a little vicious. Okay, so I'm at 6 hit points, and they're at 2 hit points, and we're going to attack again. They got a 1. Nope, they can't attack. They have no attack stat. They got a 6. They're going to parry my 2 incoming damage by 2. Okay, so reduce damage by 1/2 of dice rolled. So they reduce it by 1. And deal half of opponent's damage. So they deal 1. I go down to 5 hit points. And they are hanging on with 1 hit point. As I say, just give me the keys. Just give me the keys. And I'll let you go. And let's see if they do or don't. I try one more time. I got a 4 on my d4 for attack. And they got a 5, which means they block. Block. Reduce all damage by the dice roll. 2. Okay, so I still dealt more damage because I had a 4 and they reduced it by 2. So that means I win. So they acknowledge. They're like, okay, I'll give you the keys. And I'm like, tell me what each one does so I can actually get out of here. And they do. The Mad Fop explains what all the keys do. This one's for the outer door. This one's for your fellow prisoners. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to free any of them. And we're moving on. I close the door behind me to my cell and I lock them inside. And I say, don't worry, you won't be in any trouble. You got a big black eye. So, like, everyone will believe that I fought my way out. Glad I beat you up thoroughly. Goodbye. And I'm going to make my way out. I'm walking on a hot floor with, like, black rocks with, like, grout that glows yellow in between. Because I'm in hell. Ha. Story reveal. I was in a prison in hell. That's where I was. So I'm going to roll. It says, oh, I almost forgot. Before I face another opponent, don't roll for another duel. First, at the end of each duel, each time you win a duel, you may exchange one of their sword die with one of your own. They had a d6 for parry, so I would like that, please. I'm going to take their d6, and I'll leave them with my 4. So now my stats are I have a 4 in block, a 6 in parry, and a 4 in attack. So I will be parrying from now on. Parrying is probably the better move in the game than attack. Anyway. Okay. Oh, and also, roll 1d4 after every duel and recover that much health. I would love to recover 4 health right now. 3! Hey, that's still pretty good. I'm back up to 8. With my maximum being 9. Or I guess starting health. It doesn't say maximum. With my starting health being 9, I'm back up to 8. Can you get above maximum? Yeah, there's nothing saying you can't. Sweet. Alright. My new goal is to leave this game with more health than I started. And we're rolling a d4 for an easy duel as I walk down the hallway, my shoes slightly gluing themselves to the floor. I rolled a 4. Oh my. I rolled a 4, and when I turn the corner in the prison, I see a guard with a broadsword. Oh no, that's a big sword. But thankfully, I'm gonna take it from them. That's the goal. We're gonna take this broadsword from them. Ooh, they have a d6 in attack, so if I can just beat them, I can get a d6 in my attack. They have a d8 in defense? I want that. Oh no, I might not win this. Okay, let's roll to see what kind of person wielding a broadsword it is. With a 3, it's a troll. They have a literal troll guarding the way out of this hell prison. Alright, I can do it. Let's go. Let's go. We're gonna fight them. So first off, I'm gonna pick what I do. I have a 6 in parry, so I'm gonna roll my parry. I'm gonna roll a d6 for that. Okay, I got a 2. Now I'm gonna roll a d6 to see what my opponent does. A 1, they're gonna attack me. They have a 6 in attack, so that's terrifying. Let's roll for that. That's a 3. So I rolled a 2 in my parry, which means I reduce the incoming damage by half of 2, which is 1. So instead of taking 3, I only take 2 damage. Ouch, I'm down to 6 hit points. And then I also deal half of my opponent's damage. So that means I deal 1 damage? Is that on top of my attack? No, it's probably not. It doesn't say it does that. Yeah, so I deal half of my opponent's damage, which is 1. Uh-oh, the troll with the broadsword goes down to 7 hit points, and I'm at 6. I might die here. Let's keep going. Keep going. Okay, I'm gonna again parry, and I roll a 5 on my parry. That's good. And then I'm going to roll for their action. They got a 1, which means they attack. They're gonna roll their d6 on their attack and do 3 damage to me. Okay, so with a 5 on my parry and a 3 on their attack, first I reduce damage by half of 5, which is 2. So I only take 1 damage and go down to 5 hit points. That's great. And then I deal half of my opponent's damage, which is 1. So they go down from 7 to 6 hit points. Am I doing this right? I hope so. Anyway, I'm probably going to die because I'm at 5 hit points and they're at 6. But let's keep going. I'm going to try to parry once again. I roll a 5 on my parry. Excellent, excellent. The enemy is going to, with a 6, parry. Okay, if we both parry, nothing happens, I don't think, because it's kind of circular. The calculation depends on the other person. So our swords, well, my forearm meets their broadsword. Ouch, yikes. And I parry their broadsword, and I'm going to take that weapon. Yeah. Or maybe I have the rapier from the Mad Fop. Yeah, and I parry them, and that makes more sense. And nothing happens. We're going to roll again. I'll roll for them first, so if they parry, I can just simply roll again. With a 2, they're going to block this time. They have a d8 in their block. Okay, so I'm going to roll a d8, and I got an 8. So it doesn't really matter what I do. I'll just skip, because I can't possibly overwhelm 8. Okay, let's roll for the next turn. So what this looks like is that the troll is slashing their broadsword. They're probably showering sparks on the corridor as their broadsword hits both the left and right side of this narrow hallway. I roll for them again. They got a 5. That's a block. I'm going to roll their d8 to block. That's a 5. I can't possibly do that much damage. So we're going to roll for the next turn. They got a 2. That's a block. We're going to roll their d8 to block. That's a 2. Okay, so with them blocking 2, it's possible for me to actually do something this turn. I'm going to just straight attack because I think I can't deal 4 damage when I parry. It says reduce damage by half of the number, so at most that's 3, and then deal 1/2 of opponent's damage. So if you parry and they didn't attack, you don't do any damage. Yeah, so I have to attack if they block. Okay. 1. Nothing happens. Okay, let's roll for another round. My opponent with a 3 on the dice is going to parry. Okay. If I attack them and they parry, let's just do it. Okay. They have a d4 for their parry. So they got a 3 on their parry. And I'm just going to straight attack them. I have a d4 on my attack. I got a 2 on my attack. So I am going to attack them for 2. Their parry is going to reduce the damage by 1/2 of their number, so that's 3. So they're only going to take 1 damage. But I'm going to write that down that they're at 5. And then they're going to deal half of the opponent's damage, which was 1 to me, so I am at 4. They're at 5 and I'm at 4. It's not looking good, folks. But, you know, it's a troll, so that makes sense. They're very tall and strong. I'm gonna continue. I gotta escape this hell. Gotta get past this troll with the broadsword. So I roll one more time. A 4. That's an attack. They're just gonna straight attack me. Okay. They have a d6 in attack. They're going to attack me for 2. I'm going to parry them with my d6. I rolled a 6 on my parry. Whoa. Okay, so first, I'm going to reduce the damage by 1/2 of my parry, which is 3. So I take no damage this time. Finally, I've shifted the tides. And then I'm going to deal half of my opponent's damage, which I seem to have written down a 2. So that's only 1. But hey, now we're both at 4 hit points. That's great. Finally, I'm tied for health with the troll. I'm really glad you're not healing, troll. Thanks. Okay, and we're going to go again. So it seems like the most advantageous matchup for my d6 parry is for them to roll poorly on attack with their d6, and that's the only way I'm making any progress. Let's roll again. I'm rooting for a 1 and a 4 for the opponent so they can attack me. It's a 2. They're going to block. Let's see what they roll on their d8 to block me. A 6. I'm not even going to bother to attack. Another round. It's a 5. That's a block. Let's see what they get on their d8. An 8. I'm, again, not even going to bother to attack. Man, trolls have really tough skin. I rolled to see what my opponent does. It's a 2. They're going to block. That's a 6. They did a really good job blocking. I am just now realizing that I need to choose what I'm doing before I see what the opponent is doing. So I am going to parry every time, okay? I will parry every time going forward. And I just hope they attack. Okay, so going forward, the opponent does a with a 2. That's a block. Oh my gosh. I will be parrying, as always. And they are blocking by 4. I'm going to roll a... No, I can't. A parry doesn't do any damage when my opponent blocks. Okay, that's... Yes. So, another turn. Another parry by me. Let's see what my opponent does. With a 6, that's a parry. Nothing happens. Okay. Continuing. I'm going to parry again. Let's see what they do. With a 6, that's a parry. Nothing happens. With a 4, finally they're attacking. I'm going to roll for their attack. It's a d6. I will be parrying. Okay. They got a 6 on their attack. I might die. I'm going to roll for my parry. I got a 6 on my parry. Oh, okay. Parry. Reduce damage by half of my parry numbers. So I'm only taking 3 damage. Woo, I'm down to 1 hit point. And deal half of the opponent's damage, which is 3. They're also down to 1 hit point. Oh my gosh. It's the 1 hit point gang as me and a troll are dueling to the death in the corridor of the Hell Prison. Alright, I'm going to parry again, obviously. And I'm going to roll for their attack, because as we've said, parrying doesn't do any damage when they don't attack. And when you both parry, nothing happens. So block and parry are going to do nothing. I'm not just even going to roll for that. I'm going to roll their attack dice. Okay, I'm rolling their d6 for the attack dice. It's a 3. Now I'm rolling for my parry dice. It's also a 3. Uh-oh, I think this means I die. Let me do some quick math. Okay, reduce the damage by 1/2 of... Sorry, I think I just died. And deal 1/2. We both died. Both the troll and I died in this hallway. Ah, man. What happens then? Well, I'm in hell, so I can't escape by dying. I think people would have tried that. So I think I wake up in my cell again. Back to square 0. Darn. But I took out one of my jailers. The troll is probably... I mean, trolls regenerate, so the troll's probably fine. Yeah. I guess this is good from like a role-playing experience perspective, because I can understand Ballone's need to escape. Ballone's probably tried this thousands of times before, right? Like, that's what I'm experiencing right now, is one of these cycles of thinking that I had some hope of escape, and then, nope, here I am, back in my cell. Yet again. Well, I'm going to wait until someone comes into my cell again. Oh, and my sword didn't depower just because I died. That's not anywhere on this rules. So, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We got an even better sword than I did before. I have the middle part of a rapier. I'm making a little Franken sword here. All right, let's do this again. Yeah. I hear someone. I hear the keys jingling outside of my door. I'm going to roll a d4 for an easy duel. Now, I've already done a 3 and a 4, so I have those crossed out. I'm only going to do each one once. And I roll a d4 and I get a 2. What's a 2? A 2 is a poker. It looks kind of like the Electra sword daggery things. Like, if you've seen the Electra comics, where it's got a very, very thin blade and a handguard. And then I roll again for what type of... Oh, I'm just going to pick. I see a fellow prisoner there. Oh, absolutely. It's a fellow prisoner. Okay, so it's not keys that I hear. It's the clinking of a tiny blade being inserted into the tip of the lock, like into the lock. And it's a fellow prisoner. And the fellow prisoner opens the door, and their stats are that they can only attack me. So I'm about to be like prison shanked, is that the term? By a group of fellow prisoners who are coming into my cell because they're sick of me getting them all collectively punished for my escape attempts. perfect, but they've opened the door, so this is an opportunity if I can just overwhelm them. And they only have a d4 in their attack, so it might be a little bit easier than that troll with their d6. I'm going to parry every turn, because again, my parry is a d6. And here it goes. We're going to try, I'm only going to roll for attack because, as we've said, when you are parrying, if your opponent blocks or parries, it seems like nothing happens. The parry is a circular thing where it depends on your opponent's damage, and if your opponent's damage depends on your damage, you can just keep going for infinity. And then blocking, if you're parrying, you don't deal any damage if your opponent doesn't. So I'm just going to roll for their attack. The person creeping into my cell with their, it's called a poker, but it looks like an electro dagger, does, here's a d4, 3 damage to me as they try to stab me with a prison shank. But I'm like, whoa, I parry you. I still have the middle part of the rapier from the prison guard that I attacked earlier. And I deal a 4. A 4, okay. Parry. Reduce damage by half of your dice roll, so that's a 4. So I reduce it by 2, so I only take 1 damage. Am I at full health again? Sure. I go down from 9 to 8. And then deal 1/2 of the opponent's damage, which was 3, so I'm going to deal 1 to them. They only have 4 hit points, so dealing 1 damage to them actually does a significant amount. They go down from 4 to 3. This battle might not take as long as the one with the troll. I'm going to try to parry again, and they are going to attack me, because again, blocking and parrying enemy actions don't do anything, so we're just going to go with parry, attack, combinations, and skip all the other rolls. And they got a 2 on their attack, and I'm going to roll my d6 for parry, and that's a 6. Whoa, major headway is made. Parry, reduce damage by half of the numbers, so I'm going to reduce it by 3. I take no damage, and then deal half of the opponent's damage, which is a 1. They go down from 3 to 2 hit points. Whoa. Okay, I'm going to parry again. I do love not taking any damage. That's fantastic. And I rolled a 2 on my parry, and they rolled a 1 on their attack. So reduce damage by half of 1 is nothing, and deal the opponent's damage. Deal half of the opponent's damage is nothing. Oh no, I just took damage, and they didn't. Parrying attacking combination doesn't work too good on a 2 and a 1. I go down to 7 hit points. Okay, I'm going to again attack them. I rolled a 2. Oh no, reduce damage by half of the number. So I do still reduce my damage by 1. So I didn't take damage. Okay, got it. Discomplicated. Okay, we're going to do the parry attack combination again. For their attack, they got a 2. And for my parry, I got a 3. Parry, reduce damage by half of the dice rolled amount. So that's by 1. So I'm still going to take 1 damage, go down to 7, and deal half of the opponent's damage, which is 1. They are down to 1 hit point, and I'm still at 7. Hey, it's working out pretty good to pick on someone weaker than me. The tussle in my jail cell is really close quarters, with like just a shank as a weapon. So what I'm imagining is that I'm just like rolling around on the floor, and who knows where the knife is. Maybe it's in somebody's leg. We've lost track of the knife. We're rolling on the floor. I'm going to parry again. That's a 3. And they're going to try to roll to attack. That's a 3. Reduce incoming damage by half of my parry amount, which is 1. So I still take 2 damage. 3 minus 1 is 2. So I go down from 7 to 5 hit points. And deal half of the opponent's damage, which was 3. So I deal 1 to them. Finally, I have defeated the fellow prisoners with the shank in the jail cell. Woo! Now, I don't actually get any stronger for having fought them, so I'm kind of wondering what the point was. Why did I do all of this? Oh, that's right. I'm learning the game, and I've never done it before, but now I know, hey, if you don't have any dice to add to your weapon, don't bother fighting that person. I'm looking at their d4, and I don't want to add it to, like, my weapon is a d4, a d6, and a d4, so, well, I leave the, I leave the fellow prisoners in my cell, and I head out. The door is open because I don't have any keys this time. And I'm going to roll to rest. Roll a d4 after every duel and recover that much health. That's 2, so I go up to 7. I'm doing great, guys. I'm doing great. And then I'm gonna roll a d8 for a tough duel, and I'm not gonna fight number 1 because they only have d4s. A 3. Nope, I already fought them. A 5. Ooh. Okay. I roll a d4 to see what type of enemy this is. With a 4, it's a disgraced doctor with a cleaver and 10 hit points. They have a d4 in attack, a d8 in parry. I want that. I want to be the parrying queen. And they have a d4 in blocking. So I'm going to try to fight this disgraced doctor with a cleaver. Now, what's happening is that I think I went into someone else's jail cell because I heard that this doctor organized it. They organized the hit on me. Again, this is hell, so I wouldn't have died. I would just had a bad day. And I would have been like, I'll escape attempt if I want to. I don't care about you all being collectively punished for my escape attempts. I'm gonna get you, disgraced doctor with a cleaver. And we're gonna try, I'm gonna parry, because I have a d6 in that. And let's see what they do. Oh, so I'm looking at it now. So if they block, my parrying doesn't deal any damage. If they parry and I parry, I think we'd bounce off one another because both of our damages dealt are calculated based upon our opponent's damage, so it's a circular infinity. And then if they attack, they only have a d4. So I actually, it's really smart strategically to parry against an opponent with a d8 in parrying, because they would, like, be incredibly difficult to kill if I was attacking them and they were parrying with their d8. They'd be reducing all of my incoming damage by, like, 2 on average. And my d4 deals on average 2. So the only way to beat this person is to parry them to make sure that they don't parry me, and for them to attack me. Okay, so the enemy, roll 1d6 to see what move your opponent makes. I'm going to ignore the block and the parry options because nothing happens, and I'm going to just roll my parry versus their attack. I have a d6 in parry. I got a 6. Fantastic, starting out well. And I have a d4 of damage coming at me, that is 2. So with my 6 in parry, reduce damage by half of the amount rolled, so that's 3, so I take no damage, plus deal half of the opponent's damage, which is 1. They go down from 10 to 9 hit points, and I am very afraid. I only have 7 hit points. We're gonna do it again. I roll a 3 in parry, and they roll a 1 in attack. I am trying to parry their cleaver with the hilt of this rapier. It's a 1, so I reduce damage by half of the dice amount rolled. That's 1, so I take no damage, and deal half of the opponent's damage. Deal half of 1. I think that's nothing. Okay. Alright. I'm gonna roll again. I'm gonna roll the parry. I got a 4. A 4 on my end, and a 1 on... No. I didn't really roll. Shake, shake, shake. D4s are kind of hard to roll. A 2 on their end. Reduce damage by half of the 4 that I rolled, so I take no damage from their incoming 2, and deal half of the opponent's damage. That's 1. Oh my gosh, this is like a battle of attrition. They're down to 8 hit points, and I have 7 hit points. And I can only imagine how vicious and like little, like, death by 1,000 cuts this jail cell tussle is. Let's parry again. That's a 3, and they got a 4. Uh-oh, I'm going to take damage this time. Reduce damage by half of the dice roll, that's 1. So I take 3 damage. Uh-oh. I'm down to 4 hit points, and deal half of the opponent's damage. But I dealt them 2 damage, so they're down to 6. So it's 6 for them and 4 for me hit points. It's not going well. I'm going to parry again. I rolled a 4, and they rolled a 1. That means that I don't take any damage, and they don't take any damage. Okay, rolling to parry again. I got a 1 and they got a 2. Ooh. Okay, so that means I take damage. I take 2 damage. I go down to 2 hit points, and they reduce damage by half of the dice roll number, so I didn't reduce it at all, plus deal half of the opponent's damage, which is 1. So they're down to 5, and I'm down to 2 hit points. Uh-oh, I might lose. Should I be attacking them? Okay, so they have 5 hit points left. I have a d4 in attack, but the moment that I attack them, they'll just kill me, because I only have 2 hit points left. I think I have to continue parrying. I think I might be dead. Okay, we're gonna like carry out the the final death blow, but maybe I shouldn't fight prison bosses. And I shouldn't have removed the broadsword from my list of possible enemies to fight because I didn't beat them, so I didn't use their D8 of defense or D6 of attack, and that's why I'm too weak to beat this cleaver, position 5 on the spot. Okay, so I'll roll. No, I'll just skip that, whatever. We all know the cleaver beats me. No, I'll roll for it. Okay, we're gonna roll one last parry. I got a 3, and they got a 4. So I reduce the incoming damage by 1. They deal 2 damage to me, and I die again. But this is hell. You can't escape hell just by dying. So I wake up in my jail cell, and the question is, are my opponents healing? The only reason I'm healing is because in hell you can't die, so you kind of like respawn. But I think that they probably aren't healing. So I'm gonna respawn in my jail cell, which has a bunch of, it has a shank in it left over from when they attacked me. The people that attacked me also respawned in their jail cell. My door's open because the guards still haven't been down. And I'm going to go back to that disgraced doctor with the cleaver who only has 5 hit points. And I'm going to, on my way, pick up the broadsword from the dead troll laying in the hallway. And I'm going to upgrade my defense dice to a D8 from the troll's broadsword and head back in to the disgraced doctor's jail cell with the cleaver, who's at 5 life. I say, I'm back as I enter the disgraced doctor's jail cell. And I think there's probably that's a good question. Is there a dead one of me on the ground? No, I'd like respawned. Okay. So I say, I'm back. And I'm here with 9 hit points, and they have 5 hit points. I have an 8 hilt defense from the troll's broadsword, and I'm just making like a Franken weapon here where I take the troll's broadsword hilt and I mix it with the Mad Fop's rapier middle part. And I'm going to try to... I still don't have great attack from anything, so I'm going to try to parry this person. Because with their D8 and parry, I don't want them to parry me. So we're parrying. We're doing more parrying. I got a 2 on my dice, and they got a 4 on their attack. Oh god. Alright, so I'm going to reduce the damage taken by half of what I rolled, so I reduce it by 1. I only take 3 damage, so I go down to 6. And then I'm going to deal half of the opponent's damage, so half of the opponent's damage on the dice, or half of what I took? It's a good question. I think deal half of the opponent's damage on the dice. I'm learning as I go. So I'm going to deal 2 damage to them. They go down from 5 to 3. Yeah, parrying is just what you should do every time in this game. I'm going to parry again. I rolled a 6, and they got a 3. So reduce damage by half of what I rolled on the dice. That's 3, so I take no damage, and deal half of the opponent's damage to them. So that is 1. They go down to 2. I'm using my Franken weapon, and I'm going to parry their cleaver once more. I rolled a 4 on my d6, and they rolled a 1. Nothing happens. I don't take any damage, and neither do they. I'm parrying again. I rolled a 3, and they rolled a 2. So I reduce the damage by 1. I only take 1, so I'm at 5. And I deal half of their damage, which is half of 2 is 1 to them. They're at 1 hit point. And I say, disgraced doctor, with your cleaver, commanding all of these fellow inmates to attack me. I've been going about this the whole time as if I needed to escape hell alone. And it's been getting a lot of collected punishment on you guys. So why don't we all escape together, overwhelm them, and we'll all scatter once we're outside. What do you say? I'm going to roll for it. I rolled a parry. I got a 1. And they got a 2 on their attack. So I'm going to take 2 damage. And they're going to say, no, you're too weak. I don't want to partner with you. Just stop trying to escape. So I go down to 3 hit points. And I say, well, there's not much else to do here. I don't want to do puzzles. And I don't really feel like working out any more than I already have. So I'm going to keep trying to escape, no matter how many times you kill me. And then I rolled a 6 on my parry die, and they got a 2. So I fully reduce all incoming damage, and then I deal that last hit point to them, and they say, you are really annoying, but I guess we're stuck together unless we break out. So we've tried being stuck together. Let's try breaking out. And I beat them. Woo, I'm actually going to cross out number 5, the cleaver, because I'm going to incorporate their D8 D8 parry dice into my Franken weapon. I now have an 8. I discard the rapier from the Mad Fop, and I have the cleaver from the disgraced doctor, who is a prison leader. Man, I'm still terrible at attacking. Oh well, let's keep going. Roll a d8 for a tough duel. Okay, I'll do that. D8. That's a 7. Oh my. Okay. Well. Okay. I am going to fight someone with a jagged sword. They have an attack of a d6, and they have a defense of a d4, and they can't parry. This could be a blood fiend, a royal psycho, a cult leader, or a boar warrior. I'm going to roll a d4 and see which it is. It's a cult leader. Oh, goody. I imagine that I'm fighting a cult leader because we've opened all the doors in the whole floor of hell. We're like, okay, if we all escape at the same time, they can't catch us all. So because the doctor and I are outside of our cell, and so is the doctor's minions, the disgraced doctor and I and the minions go around opening all the cells, and this mostly works. Everyone else is on board with the let's leave hell together plan, except for the cult leader. And the cult leader is like mad at me for opening their door. And no, they're just so insane that they're attacking anybody who opens the door. It doesn't matter that it's me or the disgraced doctor. That's why they weren't on the disgraced doctor's party, because they can't be allied with. They're just a crazy fiend, and they're going to attack anybody. So let's fight this jagged sword person. You know, I kind of want their d6 in attack. So once again, I'm going to take the strategy of just parry, because I have a d8 in it, and it seems like a good thing to do. Okay, I'm going to just parry. Here's my d8 of parry. It's a 5. Ooh, I'm liking the d8. And here's their d6 for their attack. It's a 4. So that means reduce the damage by half of the parry rolled number. So half of 5 is 2, rounding down. I still take 2 damage. Oh, I was only at 3 health. I go down to 1. Plus, deal 1/2 of the opponent's damage. So they take 2. They're down to 8. I'm gonna die. I'm only at... Well, you know, that's part of being trapped in hell. So, I'm gonna do this again. I've got 1 hit point, but, you know, I want their sword attack thing. And the only way to take their sword from them is to defeat them in combat. So I guess this is weird, because, like, we're not fighting for who lives and who dies. We're fighting for whose weapon is in whose hands. Right? Because that troll didn't die. That troll respawned, and now they're getting other guards, and they're going to come down here. And they're going to put us back in our cells, because we can't be killed. We're in hell. Yeah, okay. Interesting story we're telling here. Combat is not about who wins, or who loses, or who lives, or who dies. It's about, I'm going to take your weapon. Okay, I come back. I respawn. I died. I come back. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm at 1 hit point. Let's do it one more time. I parry. I got a 6. They attack me. They got a 5. Well, at least I left them at 6 hit points as I died. All right. I respawn. I'm back. I'm back, baby. And we're coming for your jagged sword because I want it. And here's what's going to happen. I'm going to roll a d8 to parry. I got a 1, and they got a 2. So I take 1 damage. I'm down to 8. We roll again. I take another 1 damage, and I'm down to 7. We roll again. They got a 6 on there. Oh my gosh. I got an 8, and they got a 6. So with a parry of 8, I reduce the damage by half of my parry roll. So I only take 2 damage and go down to 5. Then I deal half of the opponent's damage, which is 3 to them. They're at 3 health, and I'm at 5 health. And I say, I'm taking your jagged sword tip, you cult leader, fiend. I roll again. An 8 and a 6 again. I go down 2 hit points, and they take 3. And that is the end of that combat. I stand victorious over the defeated cult leader, and I break off the tip of their jagged sword, and I put it Franken sword style on mine. I now have the Troll's Broadsword hilt with a d8, the Cleaver from the Disgraced Doctor with a d8 and parry, and the d6 from the Jagged Sword of the Cult Leader. I'm gonna roll a d4 to rest after every duel and recover that much health. I recover 2 health and go back up to 5. And then I roll a d8. Let's see, what else is left on the d8? Just a katana with a d6 and everything. I don't particularly want to fight them because I can't level up from their weapon. So I will roll a deadly duel, a d8 plus a d4. And this means I could be fighting a bastard sword, a drill edge, a reflector, or the final boss, a Shatterframe. If you beat Shatterframe, you win. Shatterframe has a d8 and everything. Oh, the reflector doesn't have any numbers. That's interesting. It's you. It's a dark blade. A dark twin that carries your same blade. That's cool. Alright, let's see what we fight. d8 plus a d4. d8 of 1 and d4 of 3. Nope, already fought them. That was the Troll with the Broadsword. 6, 7, 8, 9. The Bastard Sword. I don't want to fight them because they only have 2 d4s and a d6. There is no point. Okay, and a 9 again. Nope. A 5 plus 2 is 7. Nope, already fought them. It's a 9 again. There's perhaps a little bit too much random in this story, but I'm going to keep going. A 2 on the d8 and a 3 on the d4. That's a 5. Nope, I already fought them. 4 on the d8 and a 3 on the d4. No, that's a 7. That was the Jagged Sword. I already fought them. An 8 and a 2. That's a 10. I'm going to fight the Drill Edge. No, I already have a d8 in my parry and a d6 in... They have... So, I'm going to take some artistic liberties and I'm going to pick to fight the Reflector and then the Shatterframe. Wait, there's no point to fighting the Reflector because that's just my sword. I've been doing this for almost an hour. I'm just going to fight the Shatterframe. So, all of the prisoners and me, we are surging out of every stairwell in this hell prison dungeon. We're overwhelming the walls. We're running across the exercise grounds. There's so many prisoners. They don't know what to do. They haven't prepared for for this eventuality, but it's happening. So the final boss is someone called Shatterframe. It's the Void Engineer, creator of the Endless Expanse, weaver of metals. They have a d8 in all of their stats. I had 5 hit points, but I've since killed several enemies and have returned to full health. Wait, they have 18 health? How could I possibly... Okay, so I have 9 health, right? Alright, right, guys? I don't gain health by killing enemies. The most I can have is 9. And yet, I'm supposed to defeat this 18 health thing? How is this gonna happen? Okay, we're gonna do it. We're just gonna play the game. This is called the Eternal Duel. And I'm gonna try it rules as written with my 9 hit points, with my really cool 886 weapon. I'm gonna try to go up against this 18 hit point, really cool 888 Shatterframe. Let's go! Basically, I'm going to respawn and their health is going to be whittled down, is what's going to happen. Let's go! So there's some strategy we've got to think about. If I block with my d8, I can't do any damage to my opponent. So I'm not going to do that. If I parry, I could reduce the amount of damage coming at me, and I could do damage to them. And if I attack, I never did fight number 6, which has a d8 in attack, the mutant or cursed witch one. So I don't have a d8 in my attack. So if I attack them, I don't know. Let's see, because if I parry, I do at most 4 to them. But if I attack, I might do 6. So I might just attack them for my first life, right? We know this is going to take more than 1 life. I might just attack them for my first life, deal as much damage as I can, and then parry and try to get through the second life and see how those strategies compare. So yeah, that's what I'm declaring before I roll for them. I'm just going to attack every time with my d6. And they're going to do whatever they're going to do. We're going to roll a d6 for them. So first, my attack is a 3. Then I roll a d6 to see what my opponent does. It's a 2, so they are going to block. They rolled a 3 on their block, so nothing happens. We're going to go again. I'm going to attack. On my d6, I got a 5. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. They're going to, with a d6, that's a 1, they're going to attack. Here's their d8 attack. It's a 7. They're at 13 health. I'm at 2. Let's do it again. I'm so glad I'm respawning. I'm gonna roll my d6 to attack. It's a 1. Good job. Good job. I was present. And I'm gonna roll the d6 to see what they do. It's a 3, so they're gonna parry. Ooh. They're going to have a 4, so for my 1 and their 4, they're going to completely reduce all of my incoming damage, but then deal nothing back at me, because deal half of opponent's damage, and I only dealt 1, so half of 1 is 0. Haha. Now, I'm gonna attack them again. Here's my d6 for attack. It's a 3. And they are going to, with a 1, they're going to attack me. So that's 3 damage incoming from me, and with their d8, they're going to attack me for 6. So I die, but I whittled them down to 10. See? They're at 10. They lost like 8 hit points that time, so that's great. I'm going to die now. I die. But I respawn in my prison cell before the flood of prisoners has been staunched. I respawn so quickly, they haven't even come and closed my door yet. So I run back up to that shatter frame, the Void Engineer, creator of the Endless Expanse, weaver of metals, and I'm like, I'm back, baby. And attacking was faster than parrying, like, math-wise, and math isn't super fun after an hour, so I'm gonna just keep attacking. I'm gonna attack with my d6. I got a 1. Let's see what they do. They got a 4. They're gonna also attack. Their attack is a d8. They got 6. I'm down to 3 hit points. But I got them down to 9. Okay, maybe. Yeah, no, this is going great. This is going great. Okay, I'm gonna attack them again. I'm gonna do 6 damage. Heck yeah. And they are going to, with a 2, block. Oh no. They rolled a 7 on their defense dice. I thought I was so cool. I'm gonna attack them again. My d6. I got a 6. I'd better do 6 damage to them. I roll a d6 to see what they do. There's a 3. They're gonna parry me. Okay, so their parry result is that's an 8. So that's gonna reduce my incoming damage by 4. They're only going to take 2, but they are taking 2. And then they're going to deal half of my 6 to me. I die. I was at 3 hit points, now I'm at 0, but I got them down to 7. Hysterical laughter. Okay. Alright. Okay, so I respawn in my prison cell with my 9 hit points, and I'm like, finally, the shatter frame's health is below mine. And I head out to them, and I am perhaps going to consider parrying this time, and I'm going to parry them. Ready? Here's my parry dice. I roll a d8. Oh, heck yeah, that's a 6 on my parry dice. Now, let's see what they do. I roll. They got a 6, so they're going to parry as well. Nothing happens. Okay, I'm still going to parry them. I roll to parry again. I roll an 8. Oh, I roll an 8 on my parry dice. I'm going to roll a d6, see what they do. They parry. Darn. Okay, I'm going to parry them again. Let's roll to see what happens. I got a 7. 7 is not bad. I'm going to roll to see what they do. I got a 6 again. They parry. We bounce off one another and nothing happens. Okay, I'm going to parry again. I got a 4. I'm going to roll to see what they do. They got a 1. That's attack. They're going to attack me. They got a 7 on their attack. I'm going to go down to 2 hit points. Oh wait, no, I'm parrying, so not necessarily. Because I got a 4 on my parry, I'm going to reduce damage by half of 4, so I'm going to only take 5 damage and go down to 4 hit points. And then I'm going to deal half of the opponent's damage at them, which is honestly, this might be the way to do it. So they're going to take half of 7 is 3 damage. They're down to 4 health. I'm at 4 health. You're at 4 health. Let's do this. I'm just going to roll to parry them again. I roll a 3. That ain't going to do it. They roll on this dice. They got a 4. That means they're going to attack me. And then they smite me. Oh, no, it's just 1 damage. Hey, I'm still here. I'm still kicking. I'm at 3 health. They're at 4 health. With my parry, though, do I reduce their 1 damage? Yeah, I do, because I parried. So I actually didn't take any damage. Yeah, let's go. We're both at 4 hit points. Whew. I'm going to parry. I roll a d8. I got a 5. They're going to, using a d6 to see what they do, attack me. They have a d8 to attack me. They got a 5. So, when you parry, you reduce damage by half of the dice roll, which is 5. So I reduce the damage by 2. I go down from 4 to 2 hit points. And then I deal half of my opponent's damage to them. They go down to from 4 to 2 hit points. Oh, it's the final combat. We're both at 2 hit points. Oh, do I just like straight roll to attack at this point? I have a d6. Yeah, I'm doing it. Okay, I'm just straight rolling to attack. I got a 6 on my d6. They're definitely going to die this turn, but the question is, do I? Let's see what they roll to do. They got a 2. That is a block. Oh, man. Oh, man. What do I roll in the block dice? It's a d8. I got a 7. I was going to deal so much damage, and they blocked me with their cool woven metal shatter frame weapon. Okay, all right. I'm going to roll to attack. I roll a dice. I got a 2. Hey, they only have 2 hit points. If this goes through, that's all I need. They rolled a 6. They're going to parry. They got a 7. They completely block all of my incoming attack. And then they deal half of my 1 damage back at me. I'm at 1 hit point, and they're at 2 hit points. Okay, I'm just going to attack, you guys. I'm just going to attack. I rolled a 1. They're going to block, because there's a 5 on the d6. They blocked my 1 by 8. A very effective block. I feel like I'm stabbing a toothpick into a giant's foot. Like, it doesn't seem like I'm doing very much at all, but I'm still here with my 1 hit point and their 2 hit points. So let's see what I can do. I'm going to try to attack them. Okay, here we go. A 6 on the dice. Oh, awesome. Let's see what they do. They got a 4. That is also an attack. They attack me for 8. Holy cow, with maximum damage on both of our dice. Me with a d6 and them with a d8. We both obliterate each other. And because I destroyed Shatterframe's weapon, right? It says, when you win a duel, or what does it say? If you beat Shatterframe, you win. And it says, each time you win a duel, you may exchange one of their sword dice with one of their own. I destroyed Shatterframe's weapon. Their whole sword blows up. I definitely get the d8 from Shatterframe on the tip of my sword, just noted. Shatterframe's d8. And not only does the sword blow up, but the whole prison does. It cracks, like, between reality, and all the prisoners flood out into all the realms. Oops. I might have done a bad thing. And everyone's free. If you beat Shatterframe, you win. The cracks grow, and reality splinters more and more. The prisoners using their hands to rip the cracks wide enough for them to crawl through. And everything's gone, shattered. Fragments. I blink. The light is so bright. Oh. Gradually my eyes adjust, and I see white stretching out into infinity. A person wearing a white suit holding a clipboard says to me, Bolin, is it? I'm Nick, your personal soul accountant for this dream. It says here, he taps the clipboard, that you owe 146 more units of suffering. I stare at him, confused. I stare at the white that goes on forever in all directions. Around, up. What are we standing on? Nick hums at me judgmentally. Well, we can't let you into heaven with this negative balance on the books. But it seems that hell isn't holding you. Given the lack of alternatives, the realm of the living is the best solution. I hear Irwan is about to be in trouble soon. I just have to find a compatible vessel. Ah, that'll work. He snaps his fingers. The snap echoes around the white space, and then it's gone. I blink. And I try to blink again, but I can't. I can't close my eyes. I'm staring at something green and round that lets light in an odd way. What is that? It's clear? Translucent? A giant hand reaches up to it and lifts it away, and with more distance between me and it, I see that it was a translucent green vase, shaped like an elephant. Ooh, an elephant! Neat! The hand puts it back, then stops. It reaches for me. Oh my goodness, I'm being lifted into the air. My left and right arms dangle limply at my sides, and I can't feel my legs. I try to raise my hands to fight off this giant, but they're too heavy. I try to turn my head, but I can't. I don't even have a head. What is going on? Where is the rest of me? I realize slowly that perhaps related to my focus on weapons and franken-weaponing and collecting the best weapon and the ultimate weapon, I am now a chain. That Nick person shoved my soul into a chain, and I'm holding onto 2 barrels with my left and right hands. Foam nunchucks! Exclaims the giant holding me. See, this is why I go thrifting. You never know what you're going to find. I always wanted to try nunchucks. She puts me in her cart and continues her thrift store shopping. And that's how my life as a pair of nunchucks began.